Okay, fifth grade. So we're going to look at our next lesson. So we're going to take everything that we've learned about decimals and fractions, fractions to decimals, rational numbers, and we're going to kind of combine all of that into this lesson just to get us more practice with combining. I'm sorry, getting us more practice with looking at decimals and fractions and converting one way or the other. So we're going to look at comparing fractions and decimals. So we're going to use those symbols less than or greater than to decide whether or not these decimals are greater than or less than. So we're going to look at this first one here. So the first one we have here, negative 1.40 or negative 1 and 40 hundredths. Then we have negative 1 and 25 hundredths. So we're comparing these. Now, just like with when you're comparing any number, you can use a number line to help, okay? So you can use a number line, and let's see, I'm going to make a number line going vertical, and I'm actually going to use, no, that's fine. Okay, so we're going to write, so I have a negative 1.4 here, negative 1.30, and then here I have negative 1.20. So when we're looking at number lines that are vertical, think about like climbing a mountain or think about the ocean. If I were to go up the mountain, um, I'm getting further and further away from the from like the actual ground level, and I would be going up, 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 up. So I'm getting higher and higher. So my numbers are getting higher and higher. If I am thinking about being in the water, if I go lower and lower, lower in the water, I'm getting further and further down, right? So the further down I go, the smaller those numbers are going to get. And as I'm going up the mountain, or if I'm going up the mountain, okay, those numbers are going to get higher and higher and higher. So that's how you can think of fractions. I'm sorry, that's how you can think of a number line when you're dealing with negative numbers. So if I look here, remember, if I locate integers on a number line, I want to make sure that I do it on the actual number line like this. So there is negative 1 and 40 hundredths, and then negative 1 and 25 hundredths. Where would that be? Where would that number be in between? It'd be between 20 and 30, about right here. Okay. So if I look at this, which number is smaller, and then which number is the greatest number? So in this scenario here, we have negative 1 and 40 hundredths is less than. Okay, so it's less than. Since I'm using a pencil. Okay, so that's how you can use a number line to solve that one. Now the next one here, we have two fractions. So I have negative 3/8 and then I have negative 5/16. There's a couple of ways we can do this. I want to show you using what we've been doing with division. The other way is finding the least common multiple, but we'll learn that stuff a little bit later. So I want to show you the way we've been doing this. So whenever you are looking at fractions, you can convert them to decimals. So remember, we convert them to decimals by using our acronym TIBO. And that just means top in, bottom out. So I'm going to use negative 3/8. One thing that students always forget is to add that negative back to that number. So you always want to remember, we are dealing with negative fractions here. So I have negative 3/8, and I'm going to convert that to a decimal. So I have top in, bottom out. So I have 8, and then I have 3. So then I'm going to do, just like I would division, how many groups of 8 are in 3? There are 0. I'm going to put that decimal, and then I'm going to add that 0. So now, how many groups of 8 are in 30? Well, I know that 8 times 3 equals what? 24. Okay, so when I subtract here, I am left with 6. Okay, so I'm going to continue the step here. Add my 0, bring my 0 down. Then I'm going to ask myself how many groups of 8 are in 60. There are 7 because 8 times 7 equals 56. I subtract and I'm left with 4. Remember, our goal is to have 0 here, right? So I'm going to add another 0. So how many groups of 8 are in 40? Well, 8 times 5 equals 40. So negative 3/8 is the same as negative 375,000. Now I'm trying to figure out which one is bigger, negative 3/8 or negative 5/16. So in order for me to do that, I have to convert negative 5/16 to a decimal. So now we're going to do that one. Same process. Okay, so now here I'm going to ask myself how many groups of 16 are in 5. There are 0. Add my decimal and my 0. So how many groups of 16 are in 5? There are 3. 16 times 3 is 48. I subtract. I'm left with 2. I'm going to bring down my 0 here. How many groups of 16 are in 20? There is 1. Now, remember our goal here. There's my 4. If I bring down my 0 here, I can do this. Now, my goal is I'm comparing these, right? So if I go again, how many groups of 16 are in 40? There are 2. 16 times 2 is 32. Subtract, and I get 8. So I'm comparing these two numbers here, okay? So I can keep going if I want to keep going, but if I look here, I have negative 375 thousandths, and then here, negative 312 thousandths. So if I just look at these right here, I took into the place value, the thousandths, can I tell which one of these is greater or which one is the smallest? If I use that number line, or if I think when you're dealing with negative integers, the bigger the number, the smaller the number. So in this case, which number is greater, and then which number is the smallest? Okay, so how would I read this? So a negative 3/8 is 375 thousandths, negative 375 thousandths. So that number is going to be less than 5/16, which is negative 312 thousandths. Okay, so again, we're comparing. Remember, they are negative. So in the negative world, the larger the number, the smaller it is. So that's why this number is smaller. Okay. And so that's what you're going to be doing today. You are going to have one that you're going to look at today. That is, I'm just going to kind of show you negative. Let me rewrite that. Negative 51 hundredths. And then you have negative 8 fifteenths. So you're trying to decide is negative, what are you going to put here to make this statement true? A less than or greater than?